everyone, my name is Ankit Jain and I welcome you all to my channel Big Journey with Ankit. From today, we'll be starting the new series for interview preparation on the integration. If you are an experienced professional or a fresher, integration is one of the key concepts that you should be familiar with. Many of the enterprises nowadays do use integrations very heavily, and that's the reason, in case you want to take an advantage in your interviews, you should have a sound knowledge of these integrations as well. In this series, I will be covering all the frequently asked questions that you folks only have shared with me that you have experienced during your interviews. In case you want to let me know few more questions that I should be covering in this series, do let me know in the comment section. And I will make sure that I will be covering those questions in the upcoming parts as well. So before we get started, in case you folks like to connect with me, please subscribe to this YouTube channel so that you can get the regular updates of the videos that I will be publishing on my channel. You can also connect with me on the LinkedIn as well. And please join our Telegram group in which we'll be discussing what all the different errors or the queries that you do encounter while implementing what we are discussing on these videos. Before I move further, I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you to each one of you for your overwhelming response on the LWC interview preparation series. I know many of you reached out to me in my comment section or LinkedIn or on the Telegram group, right? To say thank you or to let me know how this series have helped you to ace your interviews. So, but I might not be reach out to you individually to say thank you. So I would like to take this opportunity and to say thank you to each one of you that you guys got a chance to go over this, prepared for your interview and aced it. So the first question that I would like to discuss for today is what all the different integration options are available in Salesforce. Again, Salesforce is an enterprise application, so definitely lots of integration options are available in the Salesforce. Here, the interviewer would like to know what all the different integration options that you worked upon that you should have a knowledge of. Right, so make sure that in this question you folks are covering all the key integration options which are available in the Salesforce. For example, like the REST API, SOAP API, Bulk API, Streaming API, Apex-based REST API, SOAP-based REST API, because these are the few integration options that developers do use very frequently. In case you guys got a chance to use the metadata API or the tooling API, make sure that you guys are also considering that as well. In addition to that, if you're able to cover the few additional pointers, for example, what protocols these particular options to use, what all different data format they do support, and what is the mode of communication, you can definitely give a better impression to the interviewer. The next question here will be what all the differences between the REST and the SOAP API. This is one of the favorite question specifically for the freshers that the interviewer do ask to take the understanding about the SOAP API and the REST API. So let's get started. So do stands for Simple Object Access Protocol and the REST do stands for the Representational State Transfer. As the name says, SOAP, it's a protocol for the communication between the application. So whenever you have to perform the communication using a protocol, then you will go for the SOAP. On the contrast, REST, it is an architectural style for designing the communications between the interfaces. SOAP is independent and can work with any transport protocol here. However, the REST is completely dependent and it works only with the HTTPS protocol. Very important point about the data format for the SOAP. SOAP do supports only XML data format. However, your REST supports the multiple data formats, including the XML, JSON, plain text, and HTML. Performance-wise, REST is much better as compared to the SOAP. Scalability wise also the REST is much better as compared to the SOAP. Why it is better? Because the REST, it's a stateless protocol. So every message in the case of REST will be processed independently. In the case of SOAP, the server maintains the state by storing all the previous messages that has been exchanged with the client. And that's the reason the scalability of the SOAP is bit difficult as compared to the REST. But the good point about the SOAP is it is more secured as compared to the REST protocol. Right? REST do support the encryption, but again, that encryption comes with a cost of a performance. Right? So make sure that SOAP supports the integration with additional overhead, but REST also support the integration. My bad, it does not. It supports the integration without affecting the performance. However, in the case of SOAP, we do have the additional overhead to implement the integration encryption. But SOAP is considered as the most secured API on contrast to the rest. And that's the reason most of the financial institutions, legacy applications do prefer to use the SOAP. However, REST is helpful whenever your key priority is the performance. If you want to use the modern applications and the public APIs, then you should definitely go for the REST application. All your mobile applications do use the REST APIs to do the communicate so that performance can be bit faster. Next question here is what is WSDL and what are the different types of WSDL and the partner WSDL here. So WSDL do stands for the Web Services Description Language. In case you are using the SOAP protocol, you have to use the WSDL document that will describe the web service to do the communications between the two systems. In Salesforce, basically we do have the two types of WSDL. One is the enterprise WSDL and second one is the partner WSDL. Enterprise WSDL you should go for whenever the WSDL that you are generating is specific to your org. If you want to do the integration which is specific to the single Salesforce org, then you should go for the enterprise WSDL. In case you are looking for the WSDL which is generic, which can be used to perform the integrations with the several org, then you can go for the partner WSDL here. So if I need to deep dive into the differences, enterprise WSDL, it is strongly typed. Why strongly typed? Because it is tied to the specific configuration of the Salesforce. If that configuration is changing, your WSDL file is changing. Loosely typed in the case of partner WSDL because here it can be used for any configuration. If the configuration is changing, then also your partner WSDL file will never change. As I said, it will change if any custom fields are getting added or any custom objects are added to your organization, your enterprise WSDL file will change. Your partner WSDL file, it will not change even though if you are using the custom field or the custom objects are added to an organization. So enterprise WSDL file, it is primarily designed for the customers and the partner WSDL file, it is primarily designed for the partners here. One of the favorite question is what all the different integration patterns here. I have seen many times and this question has been asked during the multiple interviews to me as well. What all the different integration patterns in the Salesforce. So the first one here is the request and the reply pattern. When you should go for the request and the reply pattern whenever you want the Salesforce to wait for the response to complete the process, then you should go for the request and the reply pattern. The next one here is the fire and the forget pattern. Again, when to go for that, whenever you don't want to wait for the response. In the previous pattern, we are waiting for the response to complete the process. But here, we are not waiting for the response to complete the process. Then we can go for the fire and the forget pattern. Third one here is the batch data synchronization. This pattern you should go whenever you have to do the data replications between the two different systems. Most of the times we do have a kind of a compliance requirement where all the individual systems should maintain their own data. Sometimes business do use this option to improve the performance of their application where they make sure that the data are in sync in between the two different systems. And in such scenarios, you can go for the batch data synchronization. The first three patterns that we discussed, in these three patterns, every time Salesforce is making the request to the external system. What if any external system is making a request to the Salesforce, then we should go for the next pattern, that is the remote call-in pattern. And the next one here is the data virtualization pattern. If you don't want to replicate the data in between the two external systems, but if you want to virtually access that data, then you should go for the data virtualization here. Now, the integration patterns that we discussed on the previous deck, it is not specific to Salesforce. All the enterprise applications do follow the same integration patterns. But in Salesforce, if we have to implement this integration pattern, then the next question will come, how we can implement these integration patterns inside the Salesforce. What all the different options that we do have. Again, here I have listed few. In case you folks come across any more integration patterns implementations, do let me know in the comment section as well. So request and the reply pattern, it can be implemented using the external services from the flow. It can also be implemented by using the, whenever the LWC is calling the external systems, it can also be implemented using the triggers. Moreover, it can also be implemented whenever you are invoking the external services using the batch apex, right? The next pattern that we do have is the fire and the forget pattern. The different options to implement the fire and the forget pattern here is the platform events using the flow, platform events using the apex as well, how to invoke the platform event using the flow, platform events using the apex. My channel do have a detailed playlist of 6 videos how to use the platform event. With there I have shown you the real time implementations of the platform event. So if you are not familiar with the platform event, please make sure that you guys are getting that familiar, because platform event is one of the favorite questions during the interviews. Next one here is the outbound messages as well. So before the platform event came, one of the common functionality that the businesses do use is the outbound messages to implement the fire and the forget pattern. And the next one here is the Apex based callouts also you can use to implement the fire and the forget pattern. The third one here is the batch data synchronization. If you have to do the data replication between the two different systems, you can do that by using the change data capture. And the good part about the change data capture here is you don't have to write down a single line of a code. You have to simply enable one setting and the system will start emitting the change data capture streaming API events. If you are performing the synchronization with the bulk amount of data, then definitely you can give a thought of using the ATL tool as well. There are lots of ATL tools available in the market. You can propose to use one of the ATL tool here. Remote call in. If any external systems have to make a call to the Salesforce, what all different patterns that you can follow. You can use out of the box SOAP and the REST APIs that Salesforce do offer. Again, in one of the video on my channel, where I have shown you how you can configure the Postman. There I have shown you what all the different APIs that Salesforce do offer out of the box. Again, if case you want folks to check that out, I will put that link in the video description as well. Make sure you folks check that out though. The next one here is you can also implement this pattern using the bulk APIs, platform events, as well as by creating your own APIs using the X as well. So platform event, as I said, it is very important. Here you can see that it can be used in the fire and the forget pattern. It can also be used in the remote call-in pattern as well. The next one here is the data virtualization. If without replicating the data, if you want to access the data from the external system into the Salesforce, then you can take the help of Salesforce Connect. Request and the reply using the LWC flows or Apex as well can be used to do the data virtualization. Next question is, what is actually a connected app? When you should go for the connected app? So the simple one-liner for this will be connected app uses the protocol whenever we have to authenticate, authorize, or provide the single sign-off services to the external app. So basically, it is nothing but a framework that enables the external applications integrate with the Salesforce. For example, or Oracle or the SAP systems have to integrate with the Salesforce. Then in the Salesforce, we go and create the connected app. In this connected app, we will go and define how the external systems will be authenticating, what all different authorizations that they do have using the standard protocols such as SAML, OAuth, or the OpenID Connect. So typically there are 4 main use cases for which an org can implement the connected app. The first one here is to set the security policies. As I said, how to authenticate, how to authorize, to define those policies, we can go and use the connected app. To integrate the external app with the Salesforce, also we go for the connected app. In case you are implementing the SSO, then to integrate the service provider with the Salesforce also, we do use the connected app. And to provide the authorization for the external APIs, we do use the connected app. Next question. What is OAuth 2.0? One of the favorite question again, because many of the enterprise applications nowadays do use OAuth 2.0 framework to support the authorization between the two different systems. So OAuth 2.0 is a framework that allows a secure way for systems to establish a trust with each other. So in case you have to implement the authentication or the authorization, OAuth 2.0 is one of the preferred way of doing it. The end goal by using the OAuth 2.0 here is to generate the access token without providing your username and password, right? If you want to integrate with the third party system without sharing your username and the password, then you can go for the OAuth 2.0. At the end, OAuth 2.0 will always return you the access token. The key factors that are involved in while implementing the OAuth 2.0 is resource owner, client, resource server, and the authorization server. So let's try to understand these actors and how the access token will be shared using this diagram. So for example, there's a one end user. You can say that this is the resource owner as well. Okay, this resource owner want to request some data from the resource server. Okay, but again, the resource owner don't want to share the username and the password. So in the case of OAuth 2.0, in addition to the resource server, we do have one more server, that is the authorization server. So what the resource owner will do, resource owner will first send the authorization request to the authorization server. In return, it will return you the user authorization code. Once you got the authorization code, then again you will send, by using this authorization code, you will send a request for the access token to the authorization server. And after that, here you will be getting the access token here. So here you can see that first the authorization request and then the access token request will be sent to the authorization server. And in return, we got the access token. Now, the resource owner can use this access token and send the request to the resource server and then access the details from the resource server. The access token shared by the authorization server is valid only for a limited time. It does have an expiry as well. Okay, so make sure that you folks are covering this many points in detail. If possible, draw a chart, explain this with the flow, what all different steps needs to be done whenever you have to implement the OAuth 2.0 in the org. Again, a quick question for you. I want you folks to tell me in the comment section what is the full form of OAuth 2.0. Here I put the OAuth, but what actually the OAuth calls for. Do let me know in the comment section. So what all the different OAuth authorization flows which are available in the Salesforce? Again, Salesforce do have a lot, trust me, but this is the complete list. Again, no one is expecting you to remember all this list, but the expectation here is at least you should be saying the few frequently used OAuth 2.0 flows or whatever the OAuth 2.0 flow that you have implemented in your org. Make sure you are highlighting that because based on the answers that you are giving, the interviewer can ask you the follow-up question. In case, for example, you say that I have implemented the web server authentication flow, then the end user will ask you what are the different steps that you should follow for the web server authentication. So make sure that you folks are going over at least one flow in detail before you go for the interview. Okay. In case you worked on more than one, well and good. But in case not, at least go over one of the OAuth 2.0 authorization flow in detail before you go for the interview. One of the favorite question again, if you are using the OAuth 2.0, which OAuth 2.0 flow is used for server to server integration without real-time user involvement? because there are few flows which do requires the user involvement, and there are few flows which do support the client to server integration. But there are two keywords here. First one here is which OAuth 2.0 will be supported for the server to server integration, and another point here is without user involvement. So the answer to this here is your JWT bearer flow. This flow, JWT bearer flow, will be used or will be ideal for application which access SFDC only through the API. So no user involvement whenever any system is accessing the SFDC only using the API. For example, your ETL tools or the middleware wants to integrate with the Salesforce using the APIs without any user involvement, you can definitely go and implement the JWT bearer token flow. Next question is the name credential. And very recently, Salesforce have introduced the external credentials as well. Again, if case you folks are following my channel, there are multiple scenarios that I have taken on my channel as well, where I have shown you how to create the external credential, how to create the name credential, right? So in case not, if you are not familiar with the external credential, do check out the channel. You will get multiple examples around it. For example, we have taken one scenario how you can integrate with the LinkedIn with the Salesforce, how you can integrate the two Salesforce org using the flows. There I have used the external credentials and the name credentials too. So what are name credential? Name credential basically will be helpful whenever you want to specify the URL of a callout endpoint, right? For example, you want to let the Salesforce know that the endpoint that you are connecting, it's this typical endpoint, and Salesforce to allow that connection, then you have to go and define the name credential. In the name credential, you have to specify the URL of a callout endpoint. And in addition to that, you have to also define the external credential in one of the definition as well. So one name credential can have the multiple external credentials here. Okay. So it is mandatory that at least you should be defining one of the external credential in case you want to specify the authentication details. So the typical flow here is you will be creating the external credential first. Okay. Where you will be defining what should be the authentication method that you will be using. After that, under this external credential, you will be defining the user credential because external credentials are used to define the authentication method. And in the external credential, we do use the user external credential where you will be defining the principles to store the user credential. Now you will be assigning these user credentials to the user using the permission set. This permission set authorizes users to make HTTP calls to an external system. Once your external credential part is ready, then you can come back here, create the name credential, and make sure that while creating the name credential, it is linked to the external credential. So name credential at the higher level, it is a name connection to an external system. Again, alternative to the name credential, although I'll not recommend to go for that, but in case you are integrating with the public APIs, then definitely you can use the remote site setting. But your flows till today does not support the remote site setting. So if you have to make the callouts using the flow, again, you cannot use remote site setting. You have to use the name credential only. Next question. What is a streaming API? Previously, we have discussed what is REST API. We have discussed what is SOAP API. Now, the third question, what is streaming API? So streaming API is something which enables the streaming of events using the push technology. Again, there are two different technologies. One is push technology. Another one is the poll technology. In my change data capture series, I have explained this in very detail. What is push technology? What is poll technology? What is the difference between the streaming APIs and the REST APIs? So make sure that you check out that video. I'll not be repeating in more detail, but again, at the higher level, streaming API, it will enable the streaming of events, right? And provides a subscription mechanism. So there are multiple terms here. It enables the streaming of events, and also it provides a subscription mechanism for receiving of events in the near real time. In Salesforce, you can implement the streaming APIs using different options. You can go and use the push topic events and the generic events. Although Salesforce does not recommend nowadays to go for these events, Salesforce are also planning to depreciate it. Another options here is you can go and use the platform event and the change data capture event. So I hope you guys got an idea that your platform event and the change data capture event, these events are based on the streaming APIs. Streaming API means streaming of an events, right? And it will provide a subscription mechanism as well. Streaming API do use the BIX protocol. Now the question comes, we discussed that what is streaming API, right? In case you folks can let me know in the comment section what all the different key components of the streaming APIs. Again, if you are not familiar, do a research, go over my YouTube videos, check it out, and do let me know what all the key components of the streaming APIs. And do let me know in the comment section. Next one here is what is change data capture. Change data capture, it's a streaming product on the Lightning platform that enables you to efficiently integrate your Salesforce with the external system. So again, if you break this down, it's a streaming API product available only on the Lightning platform, with the help of which you can integrate your Salesforce data with the external system. Again, if you recall in the pattern, we discussed that in case we have to do the data sync in between the two different systems, we can go for the change data capture. The good point about the change data capture here is you don't have to write down a single line of a code. You don't have to go and publish it manually. Salesforce automatically do that. Only thing that you have to do here is you have to go and enable the settings for the object to configure for the change data capture. And whenever any operations like the create, update, delete, or undelete is performed, change data capture automatically publish that event. Another key point, CDC always publishes the deltas of the Salesforce data. So in case you are changing any record, CDC will only publish the change detail. It is not going to publish the complete payload. It will only publish the change record details. Next question here is what is platform event and when to use the platform event. Again, platform event is also another product of the streaming APIs. Okay, it also follows the pub/sub model or the publisher and the subscriber model. But again, if you want to know the differences between the platform event and the change data capture event, do check out the platform event series. There I have listed all the key differences in between the platform event and the CDCs as well. Like as a developer, when you should go for the platform event, when you should go for the CDC, you can definitely check that out. At the higher level, if you want to define your own payload, right, then you can go for the platform event. Because in the case of CDC, the event will only be published whenever any create operations are performed. But without performing the operations, if in case a particular criteria has been satisfied and you want to publish an event, you can go for the platform event. Platform events always suffix with __e for the API name of the event. Platform event, what all the different options to publish? Apex, flows, as well as the APIs. These are the different options which are available in Salesforce to publish the platform event. And the different options to subscribe the platform event is you can get that subscribe using the flows. If you are to subscribe it using the trigger, make sure that you are only doing that with the help of after insert trigger. And the next one here is if you are subscribing it using the LWC, make sure that you are doing that by using the EMP API module of LWC here. So these are the different options to subscribe the platform event. One of the interviewer also asked me to give a demo by sharing my screen how to publish the events using the flow, how to subscribe the events using the flow as well. So make sure that you guys are not only following this theory, but also checking out the implementation parts as well. And that's the reason I'm repeating multiple times. make sure that you folks are completing the platform event series because it is very, very important from the integrations interview point of. These are the few questions that I want you folks to try this out. The question here is, what is the range of successful integration response code? Whenever you are getting any response from the external systems, what typical range that you should look for in your Apex or in your flows to understood that your integration is successful? Do let me know the answers for this in the comment section. What is the REST API HTTP methods in Salesforce? What all the different methods available in the Salesforce for what all the different HTTP methods available in the Salesforce for the REST API? And the last question that I want you guys to answer me is, a single Apex transaction can make how many callouts? What is the governor limit here? Within a one single transaction, how many callouts to the HTTP request or an API call can be made? Again, I'm expecting the answers from each one of you in the comment section. Also, do let me know any questions that you want me to add in this series or get that covered in the future videos as well. I hope you will found this series helpful and got some learning from this series as well. Again, I want to wish you the best of luck for your interview preparations too. Thank you. Have a good time.